The morning sun rose over the crystal gardens of Zelanti Prime, casting rainbow light through the towering glass spires that housed millions of peaceful beings. Vayana stood at her window in the High Scholar's Tower, watching children play in the floating parks below. Their laughter echoed through the clean air as they chased glowing butterflies between the flowering trees. The Zelanti were a gentle people. They had long necks and soft fur that changed colors with their emotions. Their hands were delicate, perfect for the detailed mathematical work that had made them famous across the galaxy. For 3,000 years they had lived in peace, turning dead worlds into gardens and sharing their knowledge freely with any species that, Vayana smiled as she watched a group of younglings learn to solve complex equations by arranging living crystals. The crystals glowed brighter when placed in the correct mathematical patterns. It was beautiful and peaceful, just like everything else in Zelanti space. That peace ended when her assistant burst through the door. "High Scholar," Kelvin gasped, his fur flashing bright orange with fear. "The outer colonies. They're gone." Vayana turned from the window, her own fur shifting to worried blue. "Gone? What do you mean gone?" "The Vrak," Kelvin whispered. "They came without warning. Heskel Colony, Nenth Gardens, the research station at Veltar, all of them. Destroyed." The datapad in Kelvin's shaking hands showed the last transmissions from their outer worlds. Vayana watched in horror as massive black ships appeared in peaceful skies. The Vrak vessels looked like giant insects made of metal and death. They had no interest in conquest or negotiation. They simply destroyed everything. The Vrak were an old species much older than the Zelanti. They looked like huge praying mantises but with armor plating and cybernetic implants. Their society was based on conquest and consumption. They would arrive at a world, take everything useful and leave nothing but ash and radiation behind. "How many colonies?" Vayana asked, though she dreaded the answer. 12 so far, Kelvin replied. "The fleet commanders estimate they have 50 more worlds in their path. Maybe more." Vayana closed her eyes. The Zelanti had no real military. They had never needed one. Their few patrol ships were designed for rescue work and scientific surveys, not war. Against the Vrak battle fleets, they would be like flowers trying to fight a forest fire. "Contact the Galactic Council," she ordered. "Send distress calls to every allied species. Someone must help us." Over the next few days, responses came from across the galaxy. The Altair Federation expressed deep sympathy, but explained that their fleet was too small to help. The Centauri Union offered to take refugees but had no military ships to spare. The Rigel Collective sent medical supplies and prayers. Everyone was sorry. No one could help. The Vrak kept coming. Each day brought news of another world burning. The mathematical gardens that had taken centuries to grow were turned to radioactive glass in minutes. Millions of Zelanti died as their peaceful cities were destroyed from orbit. Vayana stood in the council chamber as reports flooded in. Her people's fur had turned a permanent gray with grief and fear. The few military officers they had looked defeated. Their small fleet had tried to make a stand at Kefler 7. The Vrak had destroyed them in less than an hour. "How long until they reached the core worlds?" asked Council Leader Morden, his voice barely a whisper. 6 days, replied Fleet Commander Zethan. "Maybe 7 if we evacuate the outer settlements and pull back our remaining ships." "And after that?" Zethan's fur darkened to black. "After that, there will be no more Zelanti Republic." The chamber fell silent. 3,000 years of peace and progress would end in fire and radiation. The children playing in the crystal gardens would never grow up. The mathematical theories that could revolutionize galactic science would die with their creators. Vayana looked around at her people. They were scholars, not warriors. They had spent their lives creating beauty and knowledge. Now they faced an enemy that understood only destruction. "There must be someone," she said. "Somewhere in this galaxy there must be a species that can fight." "We have contacted everyone," Mordun replied sadly. "The civilized races are too peaceful. The warrior species are either too far away or already fighting their own wars. We are alone." Vayana walked to the great communication array at the center of the chamber. It was a masterpiece of Zelanti technology, capable of sending messages across the entire galaxy. Usually they used it to share scientific discoveries and cultural exchanges. Today she would use it for something else. "Open all frequencies," she commanded. "Full broadcast power." The technicians looked confused but obeyed. The array hummed to life, reaching out to every corner of known space and beyond. Vayana took a deep breath and began to speak. This is High Scholar Vayana of the Zelanti Republic. We are a peaceful people who have never harmed anyone. Our worlds are being destroyed by an enemy we cannot fight. Our children are dying. Our culture is being erased from the galaxy. Her voice carried across the stars, reaching thousands of worlds and millions of beings. Most had already heard of the Zelanti's plight and offered their regrets. We do not ask for conquest or revenge, Vayana continued. We ask only for survival. If there is anyone out there, any species with the strength to stand against destroyers, please help us. We offer everything we have in return for the chance to live. The message went out on every frequency, in every language the Zelanti knew. It reached the core worlds of the galaxy, where ancient civilizations pondered their response. It traveled to the rim worlds where young species were just learning to fly between the stars. And it went further still, beyond the mapped regions of space, into the dark areas where few dared to explore. There, in a region marked on no galactic chart, it was received by a small monitoring station orbiting a blue and green world. The being who heard the message was unlike anything the Zelanti had ever seen. She was shorter than most galactic species, but powerfully built. Her skin was tan from a harsh sun, and her eyes held the hard look of someone who had seen war before. Lieutenant Sarah Martinez sat up straighter as she listened to the desperate plea from across the galaxy. She had been monitoring galactic communications for months, learning about the peaceful species that filled this region of space. The Zelanti had caught her attention because they reminded her of the best parts of humanity, curious, creative, and kind. Now they were dying, and no one would help them. Sarah reached for her communication panel and opened a priority channel to Earth Command. Her message was short and direct. Command, this is Monitor Station 7. We have a situation that requires immediate attention. There's a peaceful species being wiped out by raiders and they're asking for help. Request permission to forward their distress call to the fleet. The response came back within an hour. Earth Command had heard the message and made their decision. The human fleet was moving. Admiral Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the UES Indomitable, watching the tactical display that showed 12 battle groups preparing for the longest jump in human military history. The ships around her looked nothing like the elegant vessels favored by galactic civilizations. They were built like fortresses that could fly, thick armor plating, redundant systems, and weapons designed to work in any environment. The crew moved with practiced efficiency around her. They were all volunteers who had heard the Zelanti distress call and requested transfer to the rescue fleet. Chen was proud of them, but she also knew what they were walking into. Humans had been monitoring galactic communications for 50 years, learning about the species that filled this part of space. Most of them were peaceful, advanced, and completely unprepared for real war. Final systems check complete. Admiral, reported her operations officer, Commander Park. All battle groups report ready for extended jump. Chen nodded and opened a channel to the other ships. This is Admiral Chen to all vessels. In approximately 30 minutes, we will jump further from Earth than any human fleet has gone before. We're going to help people who have never done anything but create beauty and share knowledge. They're being murdered by raiders who see kindness as weakness. She paused, looking out at the stars that had seemed so peaceful until they heard the Zelanti's cry for help. The galaxy is about to learn that humanity doesn't abandon the innocent. All ships, prepare for jump on my mark. Chen had grown up on Luna Colony, where children learned early that space was trying to kill them every second of every day. Equipment failure, radiation storms, asteroid impacts. Survival required constant vigilance and the ability to fix problems with whatever materials you had. Earth itself was even harsher. It was a world where hurricanes could level cities, earthquakes could swallow mountains, and the very air contained enough oxygen to make metal burn like paper. Most galactic species evolved on garden worlds under gentle stars. Their ships reflected this, beautiful, efficient, but fragile compared to human standards. Chen had read the intelligence reports about galactic naval combat. Their battles were careful affairs where ships tried to disable each other's systems rather than cause destruction. The idea of fighting to the death was considered primitive and barbaric. The Vrak were different. They were an old species that had survived by being tougher and more ruthless than their neighbors. But even they had never encountered anything like what was coming for them. Jump in 30 seconds, Park announced. Chen watched the countdown timer. Around her, the Indomitable's crew prepared for combat as naturally as they prepared for dinner. They had trained their entire lives for moments like this. Every human child learned to fight because Earth taught harsh lessons about survival. You protected what you loved or you lost it. Jump. Space twisted around the human fleet as 12 battle groups vanished from Sol system and reappeared light years away. The journey that should have taken weeks passed in minutes as human jump drives, built to handle the gravitational chaos near Earth, carried them across the galaxy. They emerged in Zelanti space to find exactly what Chen had expected. Vrak ships hung in orbit around the last major Zelanti world like vultures over a dying animal. The aliens were taking their time, systematically destroying cities while broadcasting their victories to terrorize the survivors. Chen's tactical officer, Lieutenant Commander Stone, ran the sensor sweeps with practiced speed. 47 Vrak vessels in orbit, Admiral. Looks like their entire third fleet. They're bombarding population centers with plasma bombardment. Zelanti defensive fleet? 3 ships hiding behind the moon. They're not engaging. Chen understood. The Zelanti were mathematicians and gardeners, not warriors. Their few military vessels were probably rescue ships trying to evacuate civilians. They wouldn't know how to fight an enemy that wanted nothing but destruction. Signal the fleet, Chen ordered. Combat Formation Alpha. Target priority is any Vrak ship firing on the planet. Rules of engagement are weapons free after they refuse to surrender. The human ships spread out as they approached the battle zone. Each vessel was a masterpiece of military engineering, built to survive anything the universe could throw at them. Their hulls were layered with armor designed to stop asteroid impacts. Their shields could handle solar flares. Their weapons were built for the kind of total warfare that only a Deathworld species truly understood. Chen opened a communication channel to all ships in the system. The message would reach both the Vrak fleet and any Zelanti survivors still able to receive transmissions. This is Admiral Sarah, Chen of the Human Defense Fleet, to the Vrak vessels, currently bombarding civilian targets. You will cease fire immediately and withdraw from this system. You have 60 seconds to comply. The response came from the largest Vrak ship, a massive battlecruiser that dwarfed even the Indomitable. The alien who appeared on Chen's screen looked like a giant praying mantis covered in cybernetic armor. Its voice was a harsh clicking sound that the translator rendered as arrogant dismissal. I am Queen Admiral Zix Thera of the Vrak Third Fleet. You will identify your species and withdraw immediately. This system belongs to the Dominion by right of conquest. Your primitive vessels are no match for Vrak military might. Chen smiled, but there was no warmth in it. It was the kind of smile that had made humanity's enemies throughout history learn to fear what came next. Negative, Queen Admiral. These are innocent people under our protection. You have 30 seconds to withdraw, or we will remove you by force. Zixathera's mandibles clicked with what might have been laughter. Your ships are small and few. We are the Vrak. We have conquered 1,000 worlds. You will retreat or be destroyed. 20 seconds, Chen said calmly. The Vrak ships began to turn toward the human fleet. They moved with the confidence of predators who had never met anything they couldn't devour. Their weapons powered up, charging particle beams and missile launchers that had reduced countless worlds to ash. Chen watched the countdown timer reach 0, then looked at her weapons officer. Fire. The space around Zelanti Prime exploded into light and violence. Human weapons, designed to work in any environment and under any conditions, reached out across the darkness. Missiles that could track targets through solar storms found their marks. Energy beams that could cut through asteroid metal sliced into Vrak armor. The aliens had never seen anything like it. Their ships were built for fighting other civilized species, vessels that valued elegance over protection and preferred disabling shots over total destruction. The human fleet fought like their homeworld had taught them, with overwhelming force applied without hesitation or mercy. Vrak shields, designed to deflect the careful attacks of galactic warfare, collapsed under the brutal efficiency of human weapons. Their armor plating, sufficient to stop civilized weapons, cracked and melted under focused energy beams. Ship after ship vanished in expanding clouds of debris and atmosphere. Vrak command ship is signaling surrender, Stone reported. All ships, cease fire, Chen ordered. She opened a channel to the surviving Vrak vessels. This is Admiral Chen. You will withdraw immediately to the edge of the system and prepare for boarding. Any vessel that moves toward the planet or makes any aggressive action will be destroyed without warning. The Vrak fleet, or what was left of it, limped toward the system's edge. In less than 20 minutes, humanity had done what the entire galactic community said was impossible. They had stopped the wrack. Chen turned her attention to the planet below, where cities burned and millions of Zelanti waited in terror for whatever came next. She opened a channel on all frequencies, speaking directly to the survivors huddled in shelters across the world. This is Admiral Sarah Chen of the Human Defense Fleet. The Vrak have been defeated and are withdrawing. We are here to help. Medical ships are on their way and our engineers are standing by to assist with repairs. You are safe now. The bridge of the Indomitable was quiet as Chen's words echoed across a world that had given up hope only hours before. Around them, the human fleet began the methodical work of rescue and relief that they had trained for. Alongside combat operations, Chen looked out at the stars and wondered what the galaxy would think when word of this battle spread. Humanity had remained hidden for 50 years, watching and learning from a distance. Now they had revealed themselves in the most dramatic way possible, by doing what no one else would do. They had protected the innocent from those who would destroy them. High Scholar Vayana stared at the display screen in her emergency bunker, deep beneath the capital city. Above her, the bombardment had stopped for the first time in 3 days. The silence felt strange after hours of explosions and screaming air raid sirens. Around her, Zelanti technicians worked frantically to restore communications with the few remaining cities on their world. High Scholar, whispered communication specialist Timfar, his fur bright yellow with confusion. We're receiving a transmission from the orbital zone. It's not Vrak. The screen flickered to life, showing a being unlike anything in the galactic databases. The creature was shorter than most civilized species, but there was something about her that made Vayana's fur ripple with nervous energy. The alien's skin was darker than any Zelanti, and her eyes held a hardness that spoke of survival in impossible conditions. This is Admiral Sarah Chen of the Human Defense Fleet, the alien said. The Vrak have been defeated and are withdrawing. We are here to help. Medical ships are on their way, and our engineers are standing by to assist with repairs. You are safe now. Vayana felt her legs give out. She sank into the nearest chair as the words registered. Safe. After days of waiting for death from above, they were safe. Around her, Zelanti technicians began crying with relief, their fur shifting through every color of joy and gratitude at once. Who are they? Temfar whispered. Humans. There's no record of any species called humans in the Galactic Registry. Vayana pulled herself together and activated the communication array. Admiral Chen, this is High Scholar Vayana of the Zelanti Republic. We cannot express our gratitude. We thought we were all going to die. The human's face appeared on screen and Vayana was surprised by the gentleness in her eyes. Despite the hardness she had sensed, there was genuine compassion there. You're going to be fine, High Scholar. My medical teams are already scanning for survivors who need immediate evacuation. Our engineers can help rebuild what the Vrak destroyed. That's what we're here for. In orbit above them, something extraordinary was happening. The human ships, which had destroyed the Vrak fleet with terrifying efficiency, were now deploying hospital ships and rescue shuttles. Beings who had fought like ancient war gods were now working around the clock to save every Zelanti life they could find. The first rescue shuttle arrived at the capital city within an hour. Vayana and her emergency council met the human rescue team at the damaged spaceport. She had expected warriors, but the humans who emerged from the shuttle looked more like doctors and engineers. They carried medical equipment and scanning devices, not weapons. The team leader introduced herself as Commander Lisa Rodriguez. Like Admiral Chen, she was shorter than most galactic species, but she moved with confidence and purpose that made her seem larger than she was. High Scholar, Rodriguez said, we've located 17,000 survivors in the southern districts who are trapped under collapsed buildings. Our heavy rescue teams are on their way, but we need local guides who know the city layout. Of course, Vayana replied. But your people, they can work in those areas? The radiation levels are extremely dangerous. Even we cannot survive there without full protection suits. Rodriguez glanced at her team members, and Vayana caught something that might have been amusement in their expressions. We appreciate the warning, High Scholar, but humans are pretty resistant to radiation. We evolved on a world with a thin atmosphere and an active magnetosphere. This level of exposure is well within our tolerance. Vayana watched in amazement as the human rescue teams went to work. They moved through areas that would kill most galactic species within minutes, lifting debris that would require industrial machinery for anyone else to move. When the heavy rescue teams arrived, Vayana understood why Commander Rodriguez had been so confident. The humans wore powered armor that made them look like small titans. They tore through collapsed concrete and twisted metal as if it were paper, creating passages for the medical teams to reach trapped survivors. They worked for 18 hours straight without stopping, their radios crackling with constant updates and coordination. Team 3, we have a family of 4 trapped in Sector 12. The little ones are in bad shape. Copy that, Team 3. Medical is inbound. Can you clear a path? Already working on it. Give us 5 minutes. Vayana found herself following the rescue teams, trying to understand how beings who had been so deadly against the Vrak could be so gentle with injured Zelanti. She watched a massive human in powered armor carefully extract a frightened child from under a collapsed school, speaking in soft tones despite the mechanical sound of his suit's speakers. Hey there, little one. I'm Mike. I'm here to help you, okay? Can you tell me if anything hurts? The child, a young female named Kesara, looked up at the armored giant with huge eyes. Her fur was gray with shock and pain. My leg hurts, she whispered, and I can't find my parents. The human's voice remained gentle despite the urgency of the situation. Let me take a look at that leg. And don't worry about your parents. My friends are very good at finding people. We'll get you all back together soon. As Vayana watched, the human called Mike ran a medical scanner over the child with movements that seemed impossibly delicate for someone wearing such heavy armor. His radio crackled with an update from his team. Mike, we found the parents. They're alive but trapped in the basement level. Team 6 is en route to extract them. You hear that, Kesara? Mike said to the child. Your mom and dad are safe. We're going to get them out and bring them to you real soon. The little Zelanti's fur brightened slightly with hope, and she actually smiled at the armored human who was carrying her to safety. Similar scenes played out across the devastated cities. Human medical teams worked in conditions that would challenge most galactic species, treating injuries that required precision and care. Human engineers began emergency repairs to power plants and water treatment facilities, working with tools designed to function in environments that most civilizations would consider uninhabitable. But it was the conversations Vayana overheard that truly amazed her. The humans spoke to each other with casual efficiency about situations that would terrify most beings. Reactor core is showing stress fractures, but it's stable for now. We can patch it until the replacement parts arrive from the fleet. Copy that. How's the radiation exposure down there? Pretty mild. Maybe twice what we'd get on a bad day at the Luna shipyards. Nothing to worry about. Good. Medical wants to set up a field hospital in that area. They need the space cleared in 6 hours. No problem. The debris is mostly concrete and steel. Easy work. Vayana realized that what the humans considered easy work would be impossible for most galactic species. They were operating in conditions that would require full environmental suits and remote handling equipment, doing it with their bare hands and treating it as routine maintenance. That evening, as rescue operations continued under floodlights that the human ships had positioned around the cities, Vayana received a message that a human shuttle was requesting permission to land at the emergency government complex. Admiral Chen wanted to meet with her in person. The shuttle that arrived was different from the medical and rescue craft. It was clearly designed for combat, with armor plating and weapon systems, but it had been reconfigured to carry diplomatic equipment and communication arrays. Admiral Chen emerged from the shuttle accompanied by 2 officers and what appeared to be a xenobiologist carrying scanning equipment. She was exactly as she had appeared on the communication screen, shorter than most galactic species, but radiating confidence and competence. High Scholar Vayana, Chen said, extending her hand in what Vayana's briefings had identified as a human greeting gesture. Thank you for agreeing to meet with us. I know your people have been through an incredible ordeal. Vayana took the offered hand, surprised by the firm grip and the warmth of the human skin. Most galactic species had cooler body temperatures and softer physiology. Admiral Chen, we owe you more than we can ever repay. You saved our entire civilization. Chen's expression grew serious. High Scholar, I need to be honest with you. The Vrak fleet we defeated was only their 3rd battle group. Intelligence reports indicate they have at least 12 more fleets of similar size, and they're not going to be happy about what happened here. Vayana felt her fur shift to worried blue. You're saying they'll return? They'll try, Chen replied. But they'll find something very different waiting for them. 11 more human battle groups are already in transit to this region of space. The Vrak just picked a fight with a species that has never backed down from defending innocent people. As if to emphasize her point, Chen's communication officer approached with an update. Admiral, long-range sensors are detecting Vrak reinforcements moving toward this system. Estimated arrival time is 4 days, Chen nodded calmly. Thank you, Lieutenant. Signal the fleet. All rescue operations have priority. But I want defensive positions prepared within 48 hours. She turned back to Vayana with that same gentle expression that seemed so at odds with her military bearing. High Scholar, my species learned long ago that sometimes peace can only be preserved by those willing to fight for it. The Vrak are about to learn that lesson the hard way. The emergency session of the Galactic Council convened within hours of receiving the first reports from Zelanti space. Representatives from 47 species gathered in the Great Assembly Hall on Nexus Prime, their voices creating a cacophony of confusion and concern that echoed through the crystalline chambers. Council Speaker Morthek of the Altair Federation called for order with the traditional chiming of the harmony crystals. His blue-skinned features were marked with the deep concern that all civilized species felt when hearing of warfare on such a scale. Fellow councilors, Morthek began, we have received disturbing reports from the Zelanti Republic. An unknown species calling themselves humans has apparently destroyed the Vrak Third Fleet in its entirety. We know nothing about these beings, yet they have demonstrated military capabilities. Beyond anything in our experience, the chamber erupted in discussion as species representatives shared what little information their intelligence services had managed to gather. The Rigel Collective had detected massive energy signatures moving through hyperspace towards Zelanti territory. The Centauri Union reported that their deep space monitors had recorded the destruction of Vrak ships from impossible distances. Ambassador Veltaran of the Vegan Alliance rose to address the assembly. Her people were among the most advanced in galactic civilization, masters of technology that could reshape matter at the molecular level. Even she seemed shaken by what had occurred. Counselors, our analysis of the battle data is unprecedented. The human weapons appear to operate on principles we do not fully understand. Their ships absorbed damage that would have destroyed our most advanced vessels, then delivered return fire with efficiency that approaches theoretical maximums. What do we know about their origins? Asked Representative Quindar of the Procyon states. Very little, Veltaran admitted. Our xenobiological teams have analyzed the limited communication data available. The humans appeared to be a young species, possibly only recently achieving interstellar travel. However, their technology suggests development paths completely unlike our own. In the rescue shelters of Zelanti Prime, survivors huddled around communication screens as news of the galactic response reached their world. Many were seeing images of other species for the first time, learning that they were part of a vast community of civilizations that spanned thousands of worlds. High Scholar Vayana sat with Admiral Chen in a temporary command center that human engineers had constructed from prefabricated modules. The facility looked like nothing in galactic architecture, purely functional, with thick walls and multiple backup systems for every critical function. Your people are causing quite a stir in the galactic community, Vayana said, gesturing to the news feeds streaming in from across civilized space. Chen sipped from a cup of human coffee, a beverage that would be mildly toxic to most galactic species but which humans seem to require in large quantities. I imagine we are. Most species out here seem to have evolved under pretty gentle conditions. What do you mean? Chen pulled up a holographic display showing star charts of known space. Most of the inhabited systems clustered around stable, long-lived stars with planetary systems that had remained unchanged for millions of years. Look at the pattern, High Scholar. Almost every major civilization developed on worlds orbiting G-class stars with stable output, moderate gravity, and protective magnetospheres. Garden worlds where evolution could take its time and develop intelligence in peaceful environments. She highlighted a small system at the edge of the display, far from the established trade routes and communication networks. Earth is different. Our star is active and unpredictable. Our planet has a massive moon that creates tidal forces strong enough to reshape continents. Our atmosphere contains enough oxygen to support combustion at levels that would make most worlds uninhabitable fire hazards. Vayana studied the data with growing amazement. Your world sounds incredibly dangerous. It is, Chen agreed. But danger teaches lessons that peaceful worlds never learn. Every human child grows up knowing that the universe is actively trying to kill them. We build our technology to work in conditions that would destroy most galactic standard equipment. We train our people to function when everything goes wrong at the same time. As if to illustrate her point, an aide approached with a report that would have caused panic among most species. Admiral, engineering reports that the plasma conduits in Sector 7 are running at 120% of rated capacity due to the emergency power requirements. They're requesting permission to run temporary bypass lines. Approved, Chen replied without hesitation. Tell them to monitor for stress fractures and be ready to switch to backup systems if needed. The aide nodded and walked away as if discussing potentially catastrophic system failures was routine business. Vayana realized that for humans it probably was. Your people seem remarkably calm about situations that would terrify most beings, she observed. Chen smiled. High scholar, most of my crew grew up in the outer colonies where equipment failure means death from vacuum exposure, radiation poisoning, or life support collapse. Running power systems at emergency levels is just Tuesday for us. Over the following days, more human fleets arrived in Zillanti space. Each battle group brought not only warships but also hospital vessels, engineering ships, and massive supply convoys loaded with everything needed to rebuild a civilization. The contrast between human military efficiency and their humanitarian efforts continued to amaze the Zillanti. Survivors, Vayana watched human work crews rebuilding a children's hospital with the same methodical precision they had used to destroy the Vrak fleet. The workers were mostly young people, barely adults by human standards, but they handled construction equipment and radiation exposure that would require specialized training for most species. How do your people become so capable at such young ages? She asked Commander Rodriguez, who was overseeing the hospital reconstruction. Earth doesn't give you a choice, Rodriguez replied, adjusting the settings on a plasma cutter to slice through damaged structural beams. You learn to adapt and overcome, or you don't survive to reproduce. It's been that way for our entire evolutionary history. She paused to help her team maneuver a replacement power core into position, lifting one end of the massive device with strength that would require powered assistance for most galactic species. The funny thing is, we thought we were pretty normal until we started monitoring your communications. Learning that most species evolved on garden worlds explained a lot about why galactic civilization is so peaceful. And why no one could help us against the Vrak, Vayana added quietly. Exactly. The Vrak are probably the closest thing to a Deathworld species in this region of space. But even they evolved under conditions that were mild compared to Earth. They're tough by galactic standards, but they've never faced anything like us. News of the human intervention spread across the galaxy faster than the official reports could be compiled. Independent traders and communication networks carried stories of the mysterious Deathworlders who had appeared from unknown space to save the Zillanti. Each retelling made the humans seem more formidable and more alien to the peaceful species that dominated galactic civilization. The Vrak response was swift and predictable. Queen Empress Zikathara herself took command of a combined fleet of 12 battle groups, nearly 600 ships that represented the largest military force assembled in the region for centuries. Her message to the surviving commanders of the Third Fleet was broadcast on all military frequencies. These humans have committed an act of war against the Vrak Dominion. Their ships will be captured for study, their crews will be processed for biological research, and their homeworld will be consumed for the glory of the Hive. The message was intercepted by human intelligence and forwarded to Admiral Chen, who was meeting with the commanders of the newly arrived battle groups. The holographic conference room contained 12 of humanity's most experienced military officers, veterans of conflicts that had tested their species across multiple star systems. Intelligence estimates the Vrak fleet will arrive in 18 hours, Chen reported. 600 ships against our 12 battle groups. Any thoughts? Admiral Zhang of the 3rd Battle Group leaned back in her chair with the casual confidence that marked all human military leadership. Standard formation should work fine. The Vrak haven't seen anything like coordinated human fleet tactics yet. Agreed, said Admiral Park of the 7th Battle Group. Their ships are individually powerful, but their command structure is too rigid for effective adaptation. Once we break their initial formations, they'll be easy targets. Admiral Torres of the 5th Battle Group pulled up tactical projections. My concern is civilian protection. We can't afford to let any Vrak ships break through to attack the planet during the engagement. I'll take care of that, Chen said. The 1st Battle Group will maintain defensive positions around Zillanti Prime. The rest of you can handle the main engagement. The human officers discussed the coming battle with the same calm professionalism they might use to plan a supply convoy. For them, facing odds of 50 to 1 was simply another problem to solve with superior technology, training, and tactical flexibility. Fayana, monitoring the human communications with growing amazement, realized that the galaxy was about to witness something unprecedented. The largest Vrak fleet ever assembled was approaching a force of humans who discussed the coming battle, as if the outcome was already decided. The Deathworlders were about to teach the galaxy what real warfare looked like. 6 months after the battle that galactic historians would later call the Deathworld Awakening, High Scholar Vayana stood in the observation deck of Harmony Station, the new joint human Zillanti research facility, orbiting her homeworld. Through the transparent aluminum windows, she could see human and Zillanti work crews collaborating on projects that would have been impossible for either species alone. The battle with the Vrak superfleet had lasted exactly 47 minutes. 600 Vrak ships had faced 12 human battle groups in what should have been the most devastating defeat in human history. Instead, it had become the most one-sided victory in galactic records. The humans had used tactics that no civilized species had ever conceived. Coordinated fleet movements that treated individual ships as parts of a larger weapon system, battle formations that adapted in real time to enemy responses, and strategic thinking that operated on multiple levels simultaneously. Queen Empress Zikthara had surrendered after watching half her fleet disappear in the opening engagement. The remaining Vrak ships had been escorted to internment facilities where their crews waited for war crimes, tribunals that would be conducted according to galactic law, something the Vrak had never bothered with in their centuries of conquest. Vayana turned from the window as Admiral Chen entered the observation lounge. The human officer looked more relaxed than she had during the crisis months, though she still carried herself with the alert posture that marked all members of her species. "Hi, Scholar," Chen said, settling into one of the specially designed chairs that could accommodate both human and Zillanti physiology. "I have news from the Galactic Council. They've formally recognized humanity as a sovereign species and extended an invitation for us to join the Cooperative Defense Treaty." "That's wonderful news," Vayana replied, her fur shifting to pleased green, "though I suspect many species are still adjusting to the idea of humans as neighbors rather than roomers." Chen laughed, a sound that still surprised many galactic species with its warmth. "The diplomatic meetings have been interesting. Half the representatives seem fascinated by us and the other half look like they're trying to calculate whether we're a threat to galactic peace." "And what do you tell them?" "The truth. We're not interested in conquest or domination. We just want to make sure that peaceful species can continue to be peaceful, without worrying about predators like the Vrak." Through the station windows, they could see human patrol ships conducting training exercises with newly constructed Zillanti defense vessels. The Zillanti ships were beautiful examples of their mathematical precision and aesthetic sense, but now they carried human-designed weapon systems and shield generators. The collaboration had produced vessels that were both elegant and deadly, art that could protect the artist who created it. "The galaxy is changing," Vayana observed. 3 months ago, the hegemony of Keth tried to expand into Rigel space. They backed down when the Rigel Collective announced they were under human protection. 4 more species have requested formal defense treaties in the past month, Chen added. All of them peaceful civilizations that just want to pursue science and culture, without worrying about aggressive neighbors. The human-led defense network was already reshaping galactic politics. Species that had been vulnerable to raiders and expansionist empires now had options beyond surrender, or expensive defensive buildups. The mere possibility of human intervention was enough to deter most would-be conquerors. "There's something else," Chen said, pulling up a holographic display. "Our xenobiological teams have completed their survey of known galactic species. The results are fascinating." The display showed a complex chart mapping the evolutionary development of 47 major galactic civilizations. Almost all of them clustered in a narrow band representing peaceful evolutionary environments. Only 3 species in this entire region of space evolved under conditions that could be classified as moderately challenging, Chen explained. The Vrak, the Altair, and the Keth hegemony. Everyone else developed on worlds that were essentially paradise compared to Earth. Vayana studied the data with the analytical mind that had made her one of the galaxy's leading mathematical theorists. The implications are staggering. It explains why galactic civilization is so advanced in some areas but so vulnerable to military aggression. Exactly. Most species never needed to develop the kind of adaptive resilience that comes from surviving on a death world. They are incredibly advanced in technology, art, philosophy, and science. But when someone shows up with hostile intent, they have no framework for response. Chen highlighted Earth's position on the evolutionary chart. It appeared as an extreme outlier, so far beyond the normal parameters that the display had to be rescaled to show it. We're not just different, she continued. We're unique in this region of space, maybe in the galaxy as a whole. The conversation was interrupted by Vayana's assistant, Kelvan, who approached with obvious excitement. His fur was bright gold with anticipation. High Scholar Admiral, you need to see this. We've received a message from the far rim of the galaxy. Another Deathworld species has made contact. The message that played on the station's communication system was unlike anything in galactic records. The beings who appeared on screen were tall and angular, with chitinous exoskeletons that looked like living armor. Their world was a tidally locked planet orbiting a red dwarf star, where survival required constant adaptation to extreme temperature gradients and radiation storms. Their representative, who identified herself as war leader Kexthera of the Nomad clans, spoke with the same matter-of-fact directness that marked human military communications. We have heard of the species called humans who defend the weak against the strong. We propose an alliance between Deathworld peoples. The galaxy is large, and there are many innocent species who need protection from those who would destroy what they cannot understand. Chen and Vayana exchanged glances. The implications were enormous. If there were other Deathworld species scattered across the galaxy, the balance of power was about to shift in ways no one could predict. Draft a response, Chen ordered Kelvan. Tell War Leader Kexthera that humanity would welcome discussions about mutual cooperation in protecting peaceful civilizations. As Kelvan hurried away to prepare the message, Vayana turned back to the observation windows. The view had changed since their conversation began. Human construction ships were now visible in the distance, building what appeared to be a massive defensive platform. Another weapon station? She asked. Hospital, Chen replied. Medical facility designed to handle casualties from any species in the galaxy. We're also building schools where human and galactic species can learn from each other. Schools? Chen nodded. Your people have mathematical insights that could revolutionize human technology. Our people have survival skills and adaptive thinking that could help galactic species become more resilient. Everyone benefits. The truth of that statement was already visible throughout Zelanti space. Human medical techniques were saving lives that would have been lost to radiation exposure and trauma. Zelanti mathematical principles were being incorporated into human ship designs, making them more efficient and elegant. The collaboration was producing innovations that neither species could have achieved alone. There's something I've been meaning to ask, Vayana said. Why did you help us? Your species could have remained hidden, avoided all the complications that come with galactic contact. Chen was quiet for a long moment, looking out at the busy space lanes where human and alien ships work together to rebuild a civilization. Because that's not who we are, she finally said. Humanity learned long ago that survival isn't just about being tough enough to endure anything. It's about being strong enough to protect the things worth preserving. She gestured toward the planet below, where Zelanti cities glowed with renewed light and human settlements dotted the landscape like bright stars. Your people represent the best of what intelligence can achieve. Knowledge, beauty, peace, and the wisdom to cherish life. The universe is dangerous enough without letting predators destroy the builders and dreamers. A communication alert sounded, indicating another incoming message from deep space. This time it was from a species called the Void Hunters, another Deathworld civilization that had heard about humanity's intervention on behalf of peaceful species. They too wanted to discuss cooperation in protecting what they called the Garden Worlds. As more messages arrived from across the galaxy, Vayana realized that the humans had started something much larger than a simple rescue mission. They had awakened a network of guardian species that most of galactic civilization never knew existed. The galaxy was indeed changing. For the first time in millennia, peaceful species could pursue their art and science without fear of aggressive neighbors. The Deathworlders had emerged from the dark edges of space not as conquerors, but as protectors of the very civilizations that made the galaxy worth preserving. Chen stood and prepared to return to her duties but paused at the observation lounge entrance. "Hi, Scholar, there's one more thing. The Galactic Council has asked if we would be interested in establishing a joint exploration program. Apparently there are vast regions of space that no one has ever surveyed because they were considered too dangerous." Vayana's fur brightened with excitement. "And you said yes?" Chen smiled with the expression that had become familiar to beings across the galaxy, the look of humans contemplating a challenge that others considered impossible. "We told them we'd be delighted to take a look. After all, dangerous unexplored space is exactly the kind of place where we might find more people who need help." As Admiral Chen left to coordinate humanity's expanding role in galactic affairs, Vayana remained at the observation window, watching the stars and wondering what other surprises the universe might hold. The galaxy had become a much larger and more hopeful place since the day desperate Zelanti had broadcast their plea for help into the unknown darkness, and in that darkness the Deathworlders had answered.